This is the Big O Show. 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 This is the Big O Show.
There's just one place to get our lowest payment on the new 2025 Acura RDX, $399 a month. It's the Season of Performance event at Acura of Pembroke Pines, #1 in the USA.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
Hi, this is Jeff Welt from Welt & Rayom. Dan and I have been in business together for over 22 years. We're not your typical lawyers. When Dan's not working in the office, he's flying his stunt plane. When I'm not in the office, I'm either getting tattooed, bowling, riding a motorcycle, or going to concerts. We might not be your typical attorneys, but we are aggressive attorneys, and we'll do whatever it takes to get you what you deserve. Consultations are always free. Call us anytime, 24/7.
Welt & Rayom can help.
The lost city of Atlantis reveals its secrets at Toyota of Hollywood. Get legendary deals on over 2,000 Toyotas, like a 2024 Corolla. Not 24,000, 20,988. Unlock the wonders of 0% financing for 5 full years, 0 down. Rediscover Atlantis at Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood Boulevard and Sheridan Street. Open till midnight.
I think I know what this is. Houston, we have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield home security system guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera, all professionally installed, for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
It starts every morning before the sun comes up. Projects are laid out. Plans are made. Equipment is fueled and loaded with inventory to handle all service requests. Orders are given to an army of skilled landscape maintenance professionals, certified arbor trimmers, irrigation technicians, and licensed pest management experts who fan out to communities and businesses all over South Florida. Experienced, on time, and dependable. Our staff is fully trained, licensed, and insured. Contact us by phone, email, social media, or through our website to answer all your landscape questions. We are Cutter's Edge. Total Landscape Solutions.
There's just one place to get our lowest payment on the new 2025 Acura Integra. $289 a month. It's the Season of Performance event at Acura of Pembroke Pines, #1 in the USA.
After 40 years, the Big Cheese Miami is still producing great Italian food. They started in 1984. Since then, they've been winning awards while being voted the best inexpensive Italian restaurant in Miami. Visit them for great food, amazing service. Witness the decades of Cane's memories. The walls are like a Miami Hurricanes Hall of Fame. The Big Cheese delivers anything on its menu or party platter menu to your home, office, or even a park for a picnic. Located at 8080 Southwest 67th Avenue, Miami. Call 305-662-6855. TheBigCheeseMiami.com, where they serve large portions at family prices.
Welcome to Caneswear. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
Hi, this is Jeff Welt from Welt and Rayom. I'd like to wish you a happy holiday season and a healthy and prosperous new year from your favorite lawyers at Welt and Rayom.
There's just one place to get our lowest payment on the new 2024 Acura ZDX. $299 a month. It's the Season of Performance event at Acura of Pembroke Pines, #1 in the USA.
If you're looking to take your home or business to the next level, then RM Contractors and Custom Drywall can assist you. RM specializes in new residential turnkey, new commercial turnkey, home and office remodeling. Call them for free estimates. Serving all of South Florida, licensed and insured. Call Ray or Mike, 305-345-3649. You work hard to create the perfect atmosphere. You dream it, we'll build it. RM Contractors and Custom Drywall, 305-345-3649. or Instagram at RMC Fisher Island.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Miami Dolphins fans, time to rock out with another Dolphins pregame show. Big O and the boys are ready to give you the latest information, injury news, gambling insight as we get ready for kickoff. The pregame show is brought to you by Welton Rayom, Toyota of Hollywood, Acura of Pembroke Pines, Hialeah Park Casino, RM Contractors. The broadcast is mastered by executive producer Sean Stanley. Here's your host, the Big O, Orlando Alzugari.
Alrighty. Welcome aboard. I hope you all are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. We got a nice little pregame show. Get you ready for little Dolphins and Niners. Look at that. The pregame show with bells and whistles. That's the beauty right there. There we go. Lights and everything. Happy holidays. It's a beautiful thing. There we go. Just brought up the chat board on YouTube there. All right. Sean Stanley, of course, driving it. Welcome aboard. What's going to happen today? We went from the Dolphins favored by 2.5 all the way to the Niners favored by 2. That's a 4.5 point swing, dude. That's wicked. That's wicked. So, kind of crazy. So, we'll talk about this matchup. We'll talk about a couple things going on. Obviously, we'll get the inactives coming in a little bit. So, we'll tell you what's going on there. So, 49ers are favored by 2. Dolphins, the over and under is 44. The Niners are now minus 125 on the money line. The Dolphins are plus 105. Monday, which, I give you this thing every single day. Monday, it was Dolphins favored by 2.5, and the over-under was 46.5. The Niners were plus 110 on the money line. Now they're minus 125 on the money line. The Dolphins were minus 130 on the money line on Monday. Today, they are plus 105 on the money line. The Dolphins are a home dog, dude. That is freaking reality, is what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say it's amazing or crazy or no, it's reality. It's reality, and it's probably Vegas kind of catching up to really who the Dolphins are, and that's the sad part too. In a very twisted way, before I get into full-time football, because this will be football, but it's going to kind of overlap a little bit. And being old, you live through a lot of things, and I'm the guy that's kind of like some of you that are my age and born in this town. You've seen pretty much everything that's happened in the sports history of South Florida. Pretty much, you've been alive for every major. For me, I've been alive and watched everything from Dolphins Super Bowl wins all the way through all the Heat championships that we've had recently here. Because those are our last championships, right? Oh no, the Panthers. So, I've been blessed to see it all, and at the same time, I see history repeat itself on a consistent basis. And right now, after last night, I watched the Heat lose to the Magic, and they had like a 25-point lead or something. They got outscored, was it 37-8 in the fourth quarter by a Magic team that was injury riddled to hell, dude. Okay. All right. I know the Heat were missing Butler and stuff, but they still had, the so-called star Bam, and I don't know, something that you guys keep trying to tell me about Tyler Hero or something, whatever. And they lose a game that they should have won, by the way. They should have won because they even had a monstrous lead, and they lost it all that. And so I started thinking, I've seen this story before. Wait a minute. Hold on. Whoa. Riley, the GM, is hurting Riley, the coach. And it's not something to smile about and be happy about. I'm not doing that. I'm just smiling because Shula, the GM, hurt Shula, the coach. When Shula lost his personnel people from the 70s, and right at the early door of the 80s, Beathard was gone and all that, he had no more personnel people. Thomas Young, Beathard, all those guys were gone. And the decisions after that were basically luck. Whether you got lucky with Marino that he fell to the back end of the first round, or you made stupid selections like Sammy Smith and Jackie Shipp and whatever it is, trading Anthony Carter for Robin Senline, whatever. I could just go on and 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 on. Okay? I could just do that over and over and over. And we used to say to ourselves, oh, man, wow. We knew Shula was kicking ass as a coach on the sidelines. He was doing the best he could possibly do with what he had. Whatever he had, we knew as football fans he was maximizing it. But those of us that kind of followed it heavy, we also knew, well, Shula, the GM, is also hurting Shula, the coach. But it's Shula. What are you going to do? He's the man. He's not going to defer power to just anybody out there. It's got to be, and it never happened. And so you kind of chased your tail. I'm back to smiling again, ain't I? When I do this shit right now to you, okay, those of you that are old enough, when the younger you are, it's not going to hit you the same way. It's not. It's not going to be the same way. But the older you are, like, let me see. Pretty sure Jay Gelfin's old enough. I'm pretty sure Ocala Joe is old enough. Stephen Harris, I don't know your age. But I'm looking at some of the people on there. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready for this? I mean, are you sitting down when I tell you this? Because the similarities with the Heat and the Dolphins are amazing. Dolphins win Super Bowls. They have these teams from the 70s stacked with stars. They play offense. They play defense. They're complete. They got coaching. They got front office. Bam, boom, boom, bah. All right. Riley takes over with the Heat. Star after star, Zoe, Timmy. They're cock-blocked by Michael Jordan. We all know that. We're smart enough. We know if Riley had no Michael Jordan in the way, he might have snuck in there for a title. He might have snuck in there for a title because Riley's a badass. We all know that. Larry Brown and the Pacers might have snuck in there for a title too. You know, Jerry Sloan in Utah might have snuck in there for a title, right? The Cavs, was it who was the Cavs coach when they had Mark Price and those guys? Doherty might have snuck in there for a title too. My point was the Knicks might have snuck in there for a title too. My point is Michael Jordan cock-blocked a lot of people for a while, and it kind of hurt that era there for some teams that were good enough to win a title, but it was Michael Jordan, and it was Michael Jordan. So, and then you get the big three, and you get Shaq, you win the title, you get the big three, you win titles. So now you've got your titles, you've got your rich winning history, right? Okay, so you're Shula. You take over the Dolphins, you make them a champion and all that. You got the World Football League screwing you over, Then your run kind of ends in the early 80s. You go and have success, but you're not the same anymore. You get handled. You go to the Super Bowl, and what happens? You run into the Redskins. I'm sorry, that's what they were then. And the Diesel runs you over. It was a strike-shortened season. Kind of reminds you of a bubble. Strike-shortened season. You were in a situation that was very odd. Strike short and this, that. You needed stability and leadership. We had Shula. We have Riley Spo to get us through the bubble, right? And then you get to your championship, you fall short, whatever, boom. Then you have another trip in 85. And you get there because you got a weak-ass conference. And just like in 82, you learn your lesson too. The NFC was the superior conference from 82 all the way to 95, okay? NFC teams won 14 out of 15 years. Those of you that have short-term memories, you don't realize that, but, you know, that was a thing. And so Miami gets the Super Bowl in 85. They get there, and San Francisco steps all over Marino and that team. Why? They couldn't push anybody around. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't stop the run. They were soft. All they had was Marino in the passing game. No running game, no defense. Reminds you of anything that goes on nowadays? All passing, no running, no defense? Okay. So the Heat, what happens? Huh? It's not real. An injured Embiid, an injured Giannis. You luckily get to the finals. Do you belong anywhere on the court with Denver? No. Do you belong anywhere on the field with the San Francisco 49ers? No. And since then, since the early 80s, that you had some success because it's Shula, but you really weren't good enough because Shula didn't have the personnel, and you have continued that path now for 40 years, where you're never good enough to really go deep. You go to the 90s, you get embarrassed by Buffalo, and so on and so forth. But I want to warn the Heat organization, you are now headed into Dolphin territory. It's interesting. I'm watching the Heat develop into the early stages of the 80s Miami Dolphins right now, where they no longer have a great front office, where they no longer really get it anymore, where they keep trying to put a Band-Aid on something. They're not good enough. They don't really gather. You know how Riley used to. I just told you. He got here and it was Zoe and Timmy and, they had us. Let me go get Mason. Okay, let's go get Shaq. And let's go get Marley. Let's go get, whatever it was. Anything. Whatever he needed, he got. He got it. He got the big three, all that. He did all that. And then since then, what happened? Where's the stars? And you only get one, and that's Butler because of Wade. So the front office has lost its juice. And now it kind of stays afloat because they have a Shula on the sidelines and Spo. So I just want to warn you, Miami Heat. I've seen this before. I saw this. It was 40 years ago. It's the same thing. And the Heat Nation, they're delusional. They think they're better. In Spanish, we have a saying that says, me tiro el peo más alto que el culo. Okay? Which is, I act better than what I really am. And the Heat organization and its fans, especially the fans and some of the media members, they think this organization is better than what it really is. And it's not. And so they're living off the past. It's kind of what we've done as Dolphin fans. We have lived off Shula's past. That's what we keep doing. So I just I'm watching it now, and it's developing to be exactly like the Dolphins' early stages of the 80s. And where you just waffle and you continue to be that middling team that you're either not good enough for the playoffs or you're barely good enough for the playoffs, but you're not going to ever be good enough to make deep runs into the playoffs, because that's who the Dolphins have been for 40 years. Okay? And the little success that they did have in the 80s, it was attributed mostly because it was a terrible conference. Okay? And we happen to have the greatest passer of all time. So we were fortunate that the greatest passer could keep us afloat in a terrible conference. But we have to deal with the Chiefs, and we have to deal with the Bills, and we have to deal with teams that will punch you in the mouth like the Ravens and all that. And the Dolphins have never been that team for 40 years. And that's always been a problem for them. They get punched in the mouth and they go in a corner and cry. And I just want you to know, Miami Heat, you are becoming the Miami Dolphins. And it's eerily similar of what's going on. That bubble year, the strike year, the year again, the year where you get lucky with Embiid and Giannis, and you get to the finals and you see you are nowhere even close to Denver. Same thing as you get to the championship and you get to San Francisco and they kick your ass. And you know how much the Dolphins prove they're frauds? The following year, they choked to the Patriots with 4 fumbles, where they could have gone back to go against, the Bears. But again, the frauds that they are, that's what we've been for 40 years, frauds. It's amazing, dude. The similarities are amazing. So Miami Heat, be careful. You are headed down a path that it tells me for years now you're going to become the Dolphins, because you're kind of that right now. Can't really beat good teams. You're really not a quality franchise anymore. You don't really have good moves in the front office anymore. The Terry Rozier one's the latest one. So just saying, it's kind of scary for you, Miami Heat. You were on that early path just like Shula was, but now you're on the latter path of Shula and the rest of the stuff that's gone on. Tread carefully there, Miami Heat. Think about your future. I've seen it already. And tell me if you lived it, did it not feel like, holy shit? Did it not feel like it's, my God, I'm living, this is exactly this. It's the basketball version of football. Exactly. It's chilling, dude. Anyway, let's see. Oscar Rojas is number one. He says, by the way, you got the music trivia on Friday. You just didn't see my answer on the chat board. It was the Rolling Stones, and their booking fee is $8 million. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of a lucky guess, but, a little educated to it, but yeah. Yes, sir.
I don't want to look ahead to next week, but I just want to give you an idea. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, now the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, right? Yeah, and the Jets are giving the Rams too everything they can handle. Yeah, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it's the third quarter, and DTR has 15 yards passing and negative 15 yards in sacks. So he's at 0 net yards. That's the game we get to look forward to next week.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I still think they can lose that game. There's a chance. That's the one, actually, that I think they'll win out of the three, for sure. That one next week. It's the one against the Jets that I fear. And I've told you that already for several weeks. Let's see. What else do we have? Joseph is in. Stephen Harris. Ocala Joe. Oh, I was watching the Ravens game yesterday, and a man... Henry is a beast. Wish we could have gotten him. But then again, Capri wearing McDumbass probably wouldn't have used him. I wanted him because I wanted to change the entire, become a nasty physical team, bro, and then your quarterback becomes that much better. And if you have a guy like Tua, who's a dynamite passer, dude, you give him a brutal running game that punishes people, Tua will be even better than what he is now, which is scary because he's like completing 74% of his passes, which is stupid. But if you don't do it, Anyway, Jalen Hurts, yes, sir, out with a concussion. And our boy Pickett, he's already got a touchdown and an interception, right? So, yeah. Let's see what else. Big Johnson, almost forgot the Dolphins played today. Another wasted week. Nothing to look forward to except a better draft pick. And you might get that today. Gus 1388. Yeah, Chris Shula. Yeah, that's funny. Stephen Baker in. Omar Geiner. Shanahan will give McDaniel a master class on coaching today. We should be able to win considering how beat up San Francisco is. But, of course, I have no confidence in this team. I don't blame you, Omar, man. I really don't. Don't forget, folks, you can make a donation to the show, Cash App or Venmo, at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show, Cash App or Venmo. And you can make a Bitcoin or Ethereum donation, which with the dip, we love that. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And by the way, you can also make a donation through PayPal is also another way that you can make a donation. Ray Martinez, thank you, sir, for the love on Venmo. He says, happy football Sunday. Let's go Fins. McD, please surprise us. And please take advantage in crypto. Yes, right now it is a beautiful, beautiful dip going on. And this is one where you get an opportunity to load up. But we've got a show to talk about right now. So we'll do that. We got plenty of time to talk crypto and other shows. Let's see what else. Carlos V says, still have more faith in the Heat winning a 4th championship before the Dolphins winning a 3rd Super Bowl. You missed the point. You are exactly thinking like the 80s Dolphins fan was. Okay? So, and by the way, the Heat have zero chance of winning any championship, Carlos. Anything. They have no stars on the team. Jimmy Butler's broken down. They're tied to all these salaries and have no draft picks. So I get what you're saying that, of course, the Heat in the short window have championship, whereas the Dolphins, it was half a century ago. Totally understand that, bro. That's common sense. But if you watch where they're headed now and the pace they're at, they're chasing their tail right now. That's what I'm watching. I'm watching a team chase their tail right now. They're no better than the Dolphins now. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I know most won't be willing to say that or actually have foresight for that, but I do. That's exactly what I'm saying. And I'm ballsy enough to say, hey, this is going in the wrong direction. And that's the bottom line. There is no chance for the Miami Heat to win a championship. Zero chance, my brother. Zero chance the Miami Heat come even close to sniffing a championship, much less winning one. Where they're at now, their business model, where they're at, if we're honest, their business model right now is just as screwed up as the Dolphins' business model. They're both just slightly ahead of the Marlins because they spend. But really, right now, the Miami Heat don't know how to win in today's NBA. That's just, they're saved constantly, as I've been saying for the last couple of years on this show. Pat Riley's ass has been saved by Eric Spoelstra the last couple of years. Okay? Eric Spoelstra makes everything look better than what it really is, my friend. Okay? So, yes, it's obvious to say, yeah, I feel better about a Heat winning a championship than the Dolphins because you're a prisoner of the moment because it's in the moment. But I'm telling you right now, the Miami Heat and the Miami Dolphins, there's no championship talk for either of them right now. Nothing. Not one of them has an inside track over the other. Maybe Jorge Mas has an inside track over them because he can continue to bring more international players and more help for Messi. I don't know how much more Messi needs just to win the MLS, but there. Dude, the only team that knows what the hell they're doing is the Florida Panthers. They're the only team that from the top to the bottom, they are impeccable. It's the only franchise. It's the only franchise that has their shit together. From owner to front office to coach to real stars that play on offense and on defense. Real stars, not fake stars like Tyreek Hill. Not fake and manipulated and manufactured stars like Bam Adebayo. No, baby. No, baby. Kachuk is the real thing. Reinhardt is the real thing. Okay? Barkov is the real thing. All right? We're talking about real stars. We're talking about people that come up big defensively, offensively. Kachuk is your biggest star, and he's sliding on the floor blocking pucks. So kiss my ass. When we talk about a real franchise right now that gets real stars, that has a real spine from beginning to end, it's only the Panthers. Inter Miami is a bunch of wild cards that spend a lot of money. They don't really know what the hell they're doing. They're just spending money. They got money. They're like, it's like a fantasy team. The Panthers are methodical. The Panthers are smart. They make great trades. That free agents want to sign for less money here. All of that kind of stuff. It isn't Chris Bosh going, wait a minute, I'm in Houston for less money. Oh, Mr. Riley, you want me back? Yeah, I'll go back. You got to pay me more. You got to pay me more. Boy, Pat Riley's got a lot of juice. Whew. He's got a lot of juice. Sam Bennett takes less. Reinhardt takes less. I mean, it just there's only one franchise that's got their shit together, to be quite honest. The Heat are living off the past now. They already started living off the past. Its fans and some of its media still stuck in the past. They don't really talk about how really they're not a good organization anymore. They're not really run great anymore. The Dolphins have been, they've been all screwed up for 40 years. They don't even have a quarterback, or they don't have a defense, or they don't have a defense on a running game, or they don't have an offense, or they don't have a head coach, or they only have a running back. They don't have a quarterback. They've got a front office. They don't have a head coach. They've got a head coach. They don't have a front office. We've done it all. Okay, it's like the Dolphins never have the right combination. It's just the weirdest thing. We got a defense with Jason Taylor, but we have no offense. It's just kind of the way it is. We got Marino. We never have a defense. We never have a running game. We got a great passing game right now. Got no defense, not enough at least, and definitely no running game, and no offensive line, by the way. So it's never the same. The only team that's got their shit together in this town, that knows what they're doing from top to bottom, is the Florida Panthers. Everything else is exactly what I told you. The Marlins have no money. Inter Miami's a fantasy league. That's all Moss and company are. They're just fantasy soccer players. That's all. There's no skill to getting Messi and Suarez, and just throw money, bro. No big deal. Dolphins still don't get the plan right. They cannot get the combination straight. Okay. The Heat, living off the past. They don't know how to take 8 steps back and accumulate picks and get cap space and become liquid again. They're giving the wrong people constantly salaries, from all the way to Whiteside, all the way down to Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler's extension and all that kind of stuff. They just constantly screw up. You know what I'm saying? So really, the only franchise is the Florida Panthers. Top to bottom. Only one. It sucks, but it's the reality. You know what I'm saying? So, what can I tell you? Greg Sashi, you are a freaking stud, sir. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you on Venmo. Says Merry Christmas, thank you, Greg, for the amazing support you give this platform every single year. Thank you. Appreciate you. As always, Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. We encourage you there because we get 100% of the donations on Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. But on Super Chats, we only get 70% because YouTube takes 30%. So that's why we encourage you. Still appreciate the Super Chats. And not everybody has PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App, but thank you. Ozzy Fisher, thank you for the love on the Super Chat. Says, biggest problem within the organization is lack of vision. We have a 180-pound running back with no power back for us inside the 20 and short yardage, or all the time. Pound the shit out of people all the time and hit them with Achane as your third down back. Use him as a receiver and a third down back, not as a primary back. We're just a stupid team, dude. Anyways, I'm with you there, by the way. All of our wide receivers are under 5'10". Again, that's the stupid coach that just let Oompa Loompas all over the place. You give him big receivers. You give him Gesicki. He doesn't. Brother, he wasn't using Jonnu Smith in the first month of the season. The idiot wasn't using Jonnu Smith the first month of the season. I can't forgive you for that. After watching the whole Gesicki thing, and that's a disconnect between the front office and the head coach, because the first week that you don't use Jonnu Smith, I'm Chris Greer. I'm yanking Mike McDaniel into a room saying, "What the did I sign Jonnu Smith for? How is it that he didn't do anything this week?" Oh, but no. Get him involved in big time from here on out. Okay? Let's go. Or we'll use somebody else to start calling plays. You're not going to do what you did to me with Gesicki, but that clearly was not done. It's just there's too much incompetence that is tolerated from Mike McDaniel, from ownership and front office. They tolerate it too goddamn much. And I'm tired of it. I can't think of one NFL team with all short receivers. Yeah, it's just, listen, you want me to give you one? Actually, the greatest show on turf. I don't think Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, and Azakim were tall receivers, maybe 6'1", but not 5'10". So, yeah. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But guess what they could do? They had a dude named Marshall Faulk back there. So that kind of helps out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a Marshall Faulk. Yeah, Achan's a really nice back, but he's like Marshall Faulk diet. He's more like a starving Marshall Faulk. Okay? All right? Achan is like a kid that's like on some commercial you got to donate because you got to help him, from starvation or something compared to Marshall Faulk. And that's how good Achan is. But compared to Marshall Faulk, come on, bro. I mean, he's a nice player, but he's not Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk that was beastly, bro. That was good. Godchild, our Dolphin fans aren't the sharpest tools in the shed. Don't blame them for having a mustard seed of a brain, especially our younger generation fans that haven't seen what it's like to be relevant. Exactly.
Oh, inactives are in.
We got inactives. What do you got for me? Something tells me you're going to waddle your way to it.
Oh, no, I'm not, actually. Ethan Bonner. Apparently he's been moved to running back now. He's on the inactive list. Linebacker Channing Tindall. Linebacker Mohamed Kamara. Offensive lineman Andrew Meyer. Wide receiver D. Eskridge. And, of course, wide receiver Jalen Waddle.
So you did waddle your way to the inactive.
I waddled at the end. I
figured you would waddle your way over.
But it's interesting. They listed Ethan Bonner as running back this week instead of cornerback. I guess you can't be on the inactive list the whole season as one position, so you got to have one.
Or I guess you should stop going crazy about somebody performing in preseason or in training camp already, for Christ's sake. Stop it already. We keep doing this. And just because you see him make a couple plays in a training camp, the most of the media had Ethan Bonner ahead of Storm Duck at the beginning of the year. And then they all learned that Storm Duck was ahead of Ethan Bonner. Go back and go read all the writers pretty much. Go read it. All the beat writers pretty much. They all had Ethan Bonner ahead of Storm Duck. Why? Because they fell in love with the whole training camp thing. It's the whole Albert Wilson. It's the whole thing. And it happens to fans, and it happens to us in the media. And it happens way too much. So that's fantastic. By the way, let's get to our 3A Graphics sports calendar. Last night, the Magic defeated the Heat 121-114, outscoring Miami 37-8 in the fourth quarter. The Magic had a boatload of players out. Most of their studs were out, and they still ended up winning. Miami drops to 500, 13-13. They've got Brooklyn on Monday at 7:30. Today at 5 o'clock, the real team takes the ice, and that's the Panthers and the Lightning. By far the best franchise, best team, best watch, best thing there is in South Florida. 5 o'clock face-off there at Amelia Arena in Tampa Bay. Jalen Hurts, by the way, in the 1 o'clock games, out with a concussion. Kenny Pickett's already thrown a touchdown and interception last time I checked. And that is your 3A Graphics sports calendar. Call Alan Blanco and the great people at 3A Graphics, 786-618-1443. True Fin Fan says, screens today, 15-20. Element of surprise, LOL. Too funny. What else do we have here? True Fin Fan, thank you for the love on Cash App. Very nice. So excited for Chris Shula. You fell for it. Or did you fall for it? Laughing my ass off. Yeah, no. It's funny how people talking about how They're looking, that Ross or something could be talking to Chris Shula, which is just stupid shit. Really. Like, you've got to be a dumbass thinking that they're going to go after. I wouldn't want anything to do with Chris Shula here at all. He's a defensive coordinator. You don't even know if he can be a head coach. You don't even know if he can build a staff. He's young as hell, dude. Let the guy actually grow. Let's not put him in a position to fail like right away. It's like stupid shit. It's just because it's a Shula name, and anybody will write anything and report anything, and a lot of you are suckers, and you'll repeat it and all that, and that's why True Fin fans making fun of it, because it's, he knows it's just ridiculous shit that people come up with, and you wonder, like, what are you thinking? Marco Ferrante, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. The love on Venmo. Says, really appreciate your fantastic coverage. Oh, happy holidays to you, Sean, your families, and our Finn family everywhere. Keep rocking, brother. Thank you, Marco. Appreciate you, my man. Very kind of you. Very, very kind. Thank you. What else do we have here? No Bradley Chubb. As you can tell, Mohamed Kamara is one of the inactives also. So you're not getting the young guy, but you will obviously still have Chop out there. But the fact that you don't get Chubb back. Now, remember, Wednesday is the deadline. So maybe they're going to get him in there for the final 2 games. And listen, if they're taking their time because he's not ready, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Now, I want you to think about something, okay? This Chubb story is interesting because one of the things I've told you is they're stuck with a lot of these salaries, right? Like the Tyreek one, you're stuck with him. You just gave it to him. The Tua one, you just gave it to him. The Waddle one, you just gave it to him. The Jalen Ramsey one, you just gave it to him. The Chubb one, we're in year 3. Now, you need Chubb because you need pass rush. But wait a minute. You've got Chop developing next year. You're going to get Jalen Phillips back. And then you got Kamara, and you can get somebody else as a veteran or something like that. Do you try to create cap space with Chubb? So if Chubb doesn't play the final 2 games, just look for that. Okay? Just look for that because they may want to say, hey, listen, we're going to release this guy. And what if he plays and gets injured and then we're stuck like Chuck and then it becomes a real problem? It's better for him. It's better for us if we don't risk it, right? Don't play him the last 2 games if we're going to let him go. So I want you to keep an eye on what happens with Chubb on Wednesday, because if they don't activate him, then that's one of the few places. Because I told you, a lot of these salaries, they're stuck, dude. Because they just gave them, like the Tua salary is not even going to kick in till next year. The Waddle salary doesn't kick in till next year. So there's a lot of this stuff that you can't even make moves with these things. It would be so, like I told you, you're stuck with them. But this one, you're year 3. That's when you can start to get out of these deals. You see? Like they guaranteed for Tyreek, which I didn't want, this year's money, next year, and the year after. But the good thing is they can get out after next season. So they had no choice because they already committed for this year. Okay? But they didn't have, they could have just gotten out of it after this year, which is what I wanted. But then they added guarantees, and then next year and the year after, and then they screwed themselves. So they're stuck with him through next season, no matter what. That's why the Chubb one, they have very few places to create cap space. And Chubb has been a hell of a player because he was a hell of a player last year, but he's also been injury prone. So what do? Do you use this as an out right here? Right? That's going to be an interesting thing to watch on Wednesday. leading up to Wednesday, what they do with Chubb. Or does Chubb say, hey, no, I want to play. I need to prove to people that I'm healthy, so then he can prove it to himself, and he can also go into free agency with some tape. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. We'll see. But it's a real interesting dynamic. You know, obviously Jalen Waddle with the freak injury last week. That's just shit that, it's football, man. You guys get injured all the time, and it's a really tough one. They did elevate Eric Ezukama from the practice squad, a big receiver, something they've needed in this offense so desperately. So we'll see how they incorporate him today. Cam Good also activated. Neil Farrell, the defensive tackle, was cut. So those are some of the moves that happened today, and this week. Just keep an eye on the Chubb thing coming up, because it'll be interesting to see, what the future is, because that's one of those contracts that they could do something with it if they wanted to. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the rise of complaints towards the organization. And while I've talked about it, many have talked about it, that everybody got new contracts and they're probably not going to make any changes. Front office, head coach, quarterback, owner, whatever. I've heard all the gripes. I want the owner to sell. That's never going to happen. I want Tua gone. Never going to happen. Greer, McDaniel fired, all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, so, and we know that they gave Greer and McDaniel and the entire front office new contracts. So good chance that you probably stay with all these people for at least another year before you make that decision. It's probably what's going to happen, correct? Okay, so we look at what's going on right now, and now you've got writers writing about firing Greer, most of them. I think most of them are writing about firing McDaniel. It's kind of interesting. That's the guy they deal with every day. I know that, what's it called? Kyle Krabs is one of the few that says McDaniel and Greer, right? Because I've caught that from him. Okay. I know I caught the Greer, the Greer thing from him, I think it was, that he told me, right? No, the McDaniel thing, it was. And then I saw on I think it was, I heard him on Joe Rose, and I think he was also wanting Greer too gone. So he's one of the few I've seen in the media that wants both Greer and McDaniel gone. Just like I saw that, and I understood Chris Perkins' point that, like, because you're financially tied to all these, give them one more year and then just let it go, and whatever happens, and then you make your changes at that point because of the fiscal nature of everything that you're tied to. And you won't be able to start being able to get cut out of stuff till after next season is when you can start to cut some of the fat. All of the fat won't be able to cut for 2 or 3 years down the line. But that's another story and all that kind of stuff. But I understand whether you agree or disagree with people's points or anything like that. But I will tell you this. Okay, well, I'm in that camp that they're not going to fire anybody. As much as I would love to see McDaniel gone, because I think he's the one that has ruined this entire season, with or without the Tua injuries. Okay, doesn't matter to me. He's a disaster as a head coach, to be quite honest. But we can agree to disagree on all kinds of things. Who needs to go? Owner must sell the team. Whatever the hell you guys want to, come up with. Okay. But let me tell you something. If these last 3 games are disastrous, you got a banner flying over the stadium now, which does nothing. Every time a coach is on the hot seat, somebody buys a banner. And I wish you would have spent Bitcoin on that. I would have been a lot smarter, but whatever. To me, but it's part of the ball rolling down the hill. Okay? It starts with fans. and the rumbling of the fans, and that's been going on already for a couple of years because fans always started at first. They're always they're quick to get off the bandwagons a lot faster than the media, and now the media has started. Then starts the circus stuff, like the banners and all that kind of stuff. If you lose two of these three, if you lose all three, I would not put it's etched in stone that everybody's coming back. One or the other, or everybody, or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have that answer. But I could see the frustrations of the ball rolling down the hill getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And if it starts to get more national and those kind of things, then the owner himself, because he's a human being, he's going to feel some certain pressure on this, no matter what is in his ear. And there's a lot of space there. Okay? So it doesn't matter. He's going to have to question it himself. So I am not of that school that, oh, for sure they're coming back. If the rest of this is a failure, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something. Either or, both, whatever. I don't know. We're just human beings, dude. And even if he's the owner and if it's coming at him from all angles and he's seeing it and whatever and all that kind of stuff, and any of his rich buddies start mentioning it to him and all that, it starts to mount. It starts to mount. So again, I don't think this whole thing about no changes is completely out of the woods. If they win the next 3 games, guaranteed everybody comes back. If they win 2 of 3, I think they all come back. I think so. But if you lose 2 of 3 or all 3, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I'm gonna reserve judgment on that and say no. I'm not gonna agree with everybody's coming back. I think there could be changes if 2 of 3 are 2 of 3 or 3 or all 3 are lost. Yuri Cristofanti, eres un ángel. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, Big O. Happy holidays to you and Sean. Appreciate you. Thank you. Cash App or Venmo, like Mr. Cristofanti. That Cash Big O Show, that's Cash Big O Show. Cash App or Venmo, and you can make a Bitcoin or Ethereum donation, which you guys know I love my Bitcoin or Ethereum donations in a big time way. And you can make it also on PayPal. That's another way to make a donation. Mateo Dulio, or Dulio, my bad. Bonner can't be any worse than Smith. You know, dude, that statement makes total sense. But what the hell is going on behind the scenes if he's not playing? That's kind of scary. What we saw in training camp a few times was a complete aberration or something? They made him a running back? You know? Waddle is out, should open the door for Washington and Craycraft, but I don't think it's going to happen. Well, we'll see, my man. We'll see. John Gary, Washington's famous Smurfs receiving corps of the late 80s. But what could they do? They had hogs, and they could run the ball, my man. And they had Joe Gibbs. You know, Mike McDaniel, Joe Gibbs, Mike McDaniel, Joe Gibbs. Yeah. Yeah, nah. Not gonna. Nah. Now, what was the Gibbs offensive line coach? That he went on to be the coach at Arizona, the head coach at Arizona. He was a hell of an offensive line, one of the best offensive line coaches. That was Joe Gibbs. Richie Pettibone was his defensive coordinator. I mean, bro, Joe Gibbs is God, bro. Joe Gibbs is the man, dude. I got nothing but immense respect for Joe Gibbs. Let's see. Our O-line deserves a nickname. I nominate the Screen Doors. I like that. The Screen Doors. We are in South Florida. True Fin fan. Facts, Big O. Let him grow and prove he's a good head coach one day. Exactly. What's up with Vrabel? Vrabel is going to have his choice of whatever he wants to go to. And so he's probably going to pick the organization that he thinks is the most stable with the best ownership and, control and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think that this is the place where he would come as much as I would love him. So again, let's see what happens in the next 3 weeks. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have here? Josh says Monster Boza is starting. Oof. Devin Jordan, Big O, what do you think about John Gruden dropping his lawsuit against the NFL and becoming a head coach again? Good for him. I want no part of him. I've always thought he was a fraud, even with the championship. Just so you'll know. I think he's a fraud. So, let's see what else. True Fin Fan says, I can almost guarantee it's going to be a heavy Jonnu Smith game plan. If I know this and I'm nobody, what do you think the Niners are going to do to us? Remember, McD has no plan B. Michael Oliva, Joe Bugle. Thank you, Michael. You're a stud. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you. John Esslinger, thank you for also helping out. We have great supporters on this platform. Thank you. You all are awesome. Let's see. Humble Legend, thank you for the love on the super chat. He says, Chris Greer is a genius. If he always signs old and injury-prone players, he will always have a built-in excuse for when the season goes bad. We would have won more games if we stayed healthy. I like that. That's craftiness right there. That's a built-in excuse. Helps you stay with it. I like it. Ragin says Joe Gibbs is amazing. He won Super Bowls and NASCAR titles. He's ultimate leader, bro. Ultimate leader of all time is Joe Gibbs in sports. To do what he did in football, that guy won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks and none of them Hall of Famers. He created a system that made the quarterback interchangeable. Let me repeat that again. Because it's something that we witnessed and we will never witness again. Joe Gibbs created an offensive and defensive system that the quarterback was interchangeable. Guess what? All those teams that won Super Bowls, they could all block the shit out of you. All those teams that won Super Bowls could all shove the ball right down your throat, whether you liked it or not. All those 3 teams that won Super Bowls could stop you from scoring touchdowns. Football hasn't changed. I don't care if you're Hank Stram. I don't care if you're Joe Gibbs. And I don't care if you're Mike McDaniel. If you do not want to run the ball and stop people from scoring and protect your quarterback, you will not win the Super Bowl. You will not be dominant. You will not win in January and in December. You will never get to February. That's in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s. Nobody gets there with just an offense. Nobody gets there with just a passing game. We've tried that many times. You get there with a team, and it's just something that people keep forgetting. And I don't know why this organization just does. They had the blueprint in the 70s. Shula forgot it all. Everything that when Shula actually had personnel people, He actually built tough offensive lines and defensive lines. When he lost all his personnel people, they were getting pushed around and run over by the Diesel, embarrassed by the Bills in the 90s. That's just kind of the way it went. That's who we've been. That's our team. It's just, we can't do anything about it. It doesn't matter if it's the Bills of the 90s or the Bills here in the 2020s. It's the same thing. You get pushed around. Nothing has changed. Again, Joe Gibbs made the quarterback interchangeable. Okay? I had a listener the other day tell me, you don't get it, because it's all about the quarterback. No, dude, you don't get it. It's all about the team. Yeah, you need a quarterback, but you don't need the best quarterback. There's only one Mahomes. I had Hateful Steve sending me stuff. Oh, you see Mahomes. Bro, there's one on the planet, and he's winning all the Super Bowls. The other 31 teams would love to have that one right there, because as good as Josh Allen is, he's not Mahomes. As good as Lamar Jackson is, he's not even close to Mahomes. There's one of those guys. Joe Burrow's, that's pretty close right there. But they're on a lot, man. They're on a lot. But you can win with a whole bunch of quarterbacks, but you got to have the team. That's why when Mahomes, if he doesn't have Chris Jones in that secondary, he doesn't win these last two championships. If he doesn't have the offensive line, like in Tyreek's last year, that they got their asses kicked, it's because they didn't have an offensive line, and Mahomes got his ass kicked. It's a team game. That's why Joe Gibbs won every time with different quarterbacks, because his team was complete. The quarterback didn't have to carry you. That's why Peyton Manning won a championship with Denver, because the quarterback doesn't have to carry you. That's why Baltimore has won 2 championships. Not really because, actually Flacco kind of helped carry them more than Trent Dilfer. I got to give Flacco a little bit more credit, because the guy threw 11 touchdowns, no interceptions in his playoff run and Super Bowl run. That's pretty sick. But the defense was at least half decent, and they could run the hell out of the football, which they could always run the football in Baltimore. That's who they've been forever. Things haven't changed, folks. It's just our team doesn't actually ever have the right formula. They never can get the line straight. They never can get a running game consistently going. Yeah, Jay Ajayi does it 1 year, and Lamar Smith does it 1 year, and Ricky does it 2 years. And yeah, we have aberrations. That's not a real running game. A real running game is, here's one guy for a few years, and then the next guy comes, and then the next guy comes. Oh, and when that guy's injured, the guy that comes in as a backup also runs the ball and runs very well. And why? Because if you're going to be on this team, you will run the ball, whether you like it or not. And you will run successfully, and you will run with authority, no matter who's running the ball. That's what running teams do. You're playing a team today that if it's not the McCaffrey kid, it's the Morgan kid. They continue to run the ball. It's who they are. So you're going to get a heavy dosage of run from the 49ers today, because you saw Montana, again, those of you that are not old enough, Montana in the passing game was fantastic. Were you going to get Roger Craig? Hell yeah. Was Tom Rathman also going to pound your ass? Hell yeah. Bill Walsh knew it. And he's the designer of the West Coast offense that he started in Cincinnati, by the way. Should be called the Midwest offense, really. But whatever. Michael Oliva. Thank you, sir. It would be so Dolphins if Ross fired Greer McDaniel, then Ross hires Tannenbaum Spielman to advise in the search for the next GM head coach like the Jets did. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you. That's funny. That's funny. I don't know. Maybe that might be the moment I stop watching Dolphin football for the first time in my life, if that happens. Devin Jordan, thank you for the love on the super chat. Big O, what's your thought on John Gruden as head coach for the Dolphins? If he drops his lawsuit against the NFL, would be a better option than McDaniel? No, I'm not. I want nothing to do with John Gruden. I think he's a complete fraud. Do me a favor, Devin. Name one quarterback he drafted and developed. Thanks for playing. The guy that's Mr. Quarterback never drafted and developed his own quarterback. How are you a quarterback guru, bro? I'm not exactly sure. How are you a quarterback guru? You never drafted and developed anybody. You know, in Tampa, it was the tough kid, gritty little quarterback that he drafted. I admire him for his mental toughness and all that, but he was limited, and like he drafted some quarterbacks and they just never did anything. And you know, if you're Mr. Quarterback, yeah, I think he's a fraud. I think he was carried by that defense to that championship. That defense was so special. But yeah, no. It's crazy. Stephen Harris says, Big O, tell Hateful Steve to lay off the edible brownies. Yeah, he was like all going off on Mahomes, like, you know, well, they got Mahomes, like there's one of those in every team or something. We're the only ones that don't have one. Let's see. Show me where a QB like Tua won a Super Bowl in the last 10 years. Bro, worse. Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning couldn't throw for 10 yards, dude, with Denver, and he won a championship. I don't even need 10 years. What was that, 5 years ago? So there you go. But then again, oh, wait a minute. Dude, we got to keep the tradition going. This is Dean Brown. This is Dean Brown, bro. This is Dean Brown. You know what we do to Dean Brown. Look, see, he came up with something stupid, and now we just eliminated him. It's a long story. You guys don't know. I guess he's been sticking around there, and I haven't noticed it, but now I noticed it. Once you put Dean Brown, I remember everything associated with Dean Brown says moron. And he's like a guy in the last 10 years, and there's Peyton Manning 5 years ago with a broken arm and couldn't throw 10 yards and won a Super Bowl. Team game, defense, offense, defensive lines, running game, quarterback interchangeable. Oh, my God. You mean it's not the quarterback the only reason why you win a Super Bowl? Yeah. Stupid people like Dean Brown get blocked for saying stupid things. Anyways, Jeff Premont says it's now confirmed the Indianapolis Colts are a much better oh, dude, Jeff. Come on, dude. That's when our season ended. Well, oh, why? Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Are you playing this stupid game? Why, the Colts won or something? Is that what we're doing here? Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Colts are going to improve to 7-8. They're about to beat the Titans. Oh, wait a minute, because they needed the Colts to lose, right? Silly Dolphin fans are like rooting for the Colts to lose or something. Isn't that some shit like that or something
that was
stupid?
The one now. No, that's out the door. Now we need the Chargers to lose the two. Barry Jackson put a whole thing together for everybody that wants to see that. There's still hope. Really? Oh, there's hope.
Really, folks, do you just chase your tail around all day? You guys are dogs or something that are chasing your tail around? Haven't you watched that for the last 20, 30 years? If you're not good enough to make the playoffs or barely good enough to make the playoffs, what are you expecting? A deep playoff run and a Super Bowl appearance? Or is there just another embarrassment in the first round? What happens normally? I'm sorry. What kind of a Dolphin fan are you that you just root to torture yourself? You try to convince yourself that you still have a chance at the playoffs. But even if by chance you sneak in, do you actually think you're doing anything in the playoffs? I'm trying to find the logic, the sanity in that kind of thinking. The sanity in that kind of thinking. I'm not exactly sure where that, it's twisted. I want you all to know that. It's super twisted. It's sad. Those of you that think like that, your team has no chance, dude. They're probably going to lose today. I'm picking them to lose today. I mean, why would I? San Fran's tougher. They run the ball. They're tougher on the line of scrimmages. I just told you. Okay, whose team is more interchangeable for a quarterback? Thank you very much. San Fran. They have the better defense. They have the better offensive line. They have the more consistent running game. So the quarterback's job is a lot easier for a San Francisco person than it is for a Miami person. Why? Because the head coaches. Just like when you go up against Matt LaFleur, well, the former detective is a much better quarterback than, just because LaFleur was working with Cousseau, I mean, it doesn't matter. He's still smarter than McDaniel. Why? Because his teams are tougher. His teams run the ball. His teams defend better on a consistent basis. Which team is more interchangeable for the quarterback? That's the team that most of the time will win the game. Just do that. Just do that math more often than not, and you'll pick more winners than losers. Because more often than not, if your quarterback doesn't have to carry you, then that means your team is more complete. If your quarterback is constantly, I'm not even going to go get Marino. If your quarterback has to constantly try to make up for your fuck-ups, you're dead in the water. You're dead in the water. It's not even going to happen. That's the facts. That's why back in the day, I used to say all the time, put Marino on San Francisco, and he has got all those championships too. That's all. Give him that complete offensive line and running game. Give him the fullback, the running back, the tight ends, along with the receivers. Because he had the receivers, but he didn't have the rest of the D on the offense. And then give him that defense. That was always my argument. And by the way, we had plenty of people in those days, maybe to this day still, they kill Marino. They blame it all on him. Even though he didn't have half of an offensive line, a running game, a defense, they still blame him. And I never blame Marino because he didn't have the team. Just like I don't blame Tua. He doesn't have the team. He doesn't have the coach. He certainly doesn't have the coach. Oh, my God. It's a shame. It's a real shame. Anyway, can the Dolphins win today? Will the Dolphins run the ball? That's the question I have for you today. Can the Dolphins dictate the terms? Can they dictate the tempo? Can they push San Francisco around today? What's the answer to that? If the answer is no, then that's what I expect. I don't expect the Dolphins to win. No, I don't. And that's because you are facing a team that is going to bring a level of physicality that you lack for 40 years. It's not something from this year. It's been going on for 40 years. You've been a finesse team most of your existence. You rarely are tough at both of the lines of scrimmage. but San Francisco is. And they have injuries galore, but I trust them more than I trust the Miami Dolphins. And by the way, I'm not the biggest, oh my God, Kyle Shanahan is the greatest and all that. I think he has a lot of faults at times too. I think he's a little full of himself at times. I think he screws himself in certain game calls. You know, he is the guy that had a 25-point lead and refused to run the ball against Tom Brady in New England when he was a coordinator in Atlanta. And he is the guy that so far has had a pretty damn good team and hasn't gotten over the hump. And he's gotten a pretty complete team that they've handed him. So I think at times he's underachieved too. So I'm not here to praise, you know, the young Shanahan, okay? But he's better than this guy. He has better habits and less bad habits than our guy. So that's where I kind of am here. If you can't run the ball and push people around, you're not going to survive with, you know, like True Fan was, you know, making fun of, hey, we're going to see 400 screens today. And if your line can't protect and give to a time, you're not going to find anybody downfield. And by the way, who says you can count on Tyreek Hill? No Waddle now. So Tyreek is going to get a lot of attention, and he's proven that he's not up to it. By the way, Tyreek also has to understand Kansas City went on to win 2 titles, possibly now a 3rd this year, without you. Hey, Tyreek, you're interchangeable. It's an interesting word today, huh? Interchangeable. Some people think that they're indispensable, but they're actually interchangeable. Tyreek is not, oh my God, you need that, you have to have that. No, you could get another receiver. What you need more than is an offensive line so you can find receivers. And by the way, you need receivers that can hang on to the football and receivers that will play tough in tough moments. He fails to do that many times over. Talked a lot of shit last year before that Kansas City game, and he flopped. And then he flopped in the second Kansas City game where he got physically manhandled like he got with Stingley, Pat, last week. Manhandled. It's on tape. You can manhandle the Oompa Loompa. So if you're a physical corner, you go in with some cockiness going, this guy ain't shit. He's just a speed guy. Let me get physical with him. Get him off his game. He should have had that ball. Didn't. You can't act like the guy when you don't constantly come up with the plays and you don't come up big. So you don't have players that you can necessarily count on all the time. You don't have a defense you can necessarily count on all the time. Do they occasionally come up with a decent outing? Yeah, but it's hard to ask a lot from Weaver without a pass rush. You know what I mean? And some secondary issues. His safeties, I love Javon Holland, dude. Love Javon Holland. But I got to admit, after those 2 knee injuries last year, he has not even come close to being the guy we saw in the first year and a half of his career, too. That guy was on his way to being really special. Now, I don't know what's going on, so I understand that. But the secondaries is an issue because Poyer has been an absolute waste. It's tough, man. It's tough. I just don't see them winning this game if you can't stand there and punch them in the mouth. If you can't punch the Niners in the mouth, I don't know how you come out of here with a victory. Yep. Crazy stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy stuff. Let's see, what else do we have here? Abel Rodriguez, thank you for the love on Cash App. Very nice of you. For one name for GM, Alonzo Highsmith. You know, I've been a big admirer of Alonzo Highsmith for a long, long time. And I know he's now with the U, and I was hoping he would get an opportunity. But again, when they make a change, then we'll talk about it. But for now, all those names and all that kind of stuff, it's a waste of time for all of us. So, you know, it's nice to come up with head coaching names and GM names and all that, or somebody you want to be an owner or another quarterback or all of that, until they announce they're going to make a change or have made a change by releasing somebody. That's not a subject, you know, it's just a waste of time. And I don't really waste my time with hypotheticals. It's just, you know, silliness at this point. EJ Barro, thank you for the love on the super chat, sir. Freaky Reeky ain't the cheetah no mo. Oh, fins up next year. Yep. Todd says Tyreek has definitely underwhelmed this season. Ronnie Katz, on the way to watch this shitbag game. I got to tell you, I know Ray is there at the game. I see Ronnie's going to the game. And you people, again, the Dolphins don't deserve you. They don't deserve us. They don't deserve our fan base. They don't deserve all you people that are watching right now on the pregame show or listening later on or the postgame show, win or lose. You know, you'll be watching us in the off season or whatever. They don't deserve any of you people, dude. They don't deserve any of you. I just got at Caneswear, which, by the way, remember, use our code BIG010. You will get 10% off at Caneswear, caneswear.com, or go personally. But I got two beautiful Dolphin sweaters, because since I've lost all this weight, dude, I'm cold all the time now. So I'm wearing more sweaters now than I normally am, and I'm trying to buy long sleeve shirts now. Even when I go to concerts, if they have like a long sleeve, I will buy a long sleeve shirt and stuff, because I'm constantly cold now. But like, they don't deserve us. They don't deserve us at all. They do nothing for us. Like I said this past week on that rant, nothing for us. It's amazing. We do everything for the team, and they do not reward us in any way, shape, or form, dude. Some fluky little game, rinky-dink game that means nothing every once in a while, and we're celebrating, you know, some stupid-ass game, the Miami Miracle or something that means nothing, dude. A garbage game in a garbage season, and we're making elevator fodder of that. Like, there's nothing that says playoffs or championships or anything. That's what you got to put on that elevator. You know what I mean? That's what they do with the Panthers. If they had an elevator like that, they'd be putting like the real stuff, the real accomplishments. Beat the Lightning's ass tonight. You know, that kind of stuff. It's sad. We're really a sad existence. It's kind of pathetic, our existence as Dolphin fans. Some worse than others. Well, what are you going to do? It is what it is. Let's see. David Nagley says, why and who cares what we do? Would that change anything in the future? If Dolphins win 30-10, okay, big deal. What's the point? What are we proving at this point? Not proving anything, but winning is better than losing, dude. You know what I'm saying? And being competent is better than being incompetent. So that would be nice. And like today, I fear this game because they're the more physical team. So I don't like the Dolphins in these kind of situations because they have constantly proven to me that they're not a physical team, a tough team. And I don't care how injured these people are, they're still better. By the way, Purdy giving all his offensive linemen this week brand new Toyota trucks and SUVs. That was nice. They should they're probably giving him a little extra effort this week because it's very fresh that they've got new trucks at home thanks to their quarterback. Andy says, I'm going to a Christmas party instead. Season ended weeks ago. Amen. It did end weeks ago when they lost to the Colts. It ended. That's when it ended. By the way, the Colts are leading 38-22 for you fools out there that are hanging on to some silliness. What else? Building from the lines out should be priority. Getting a proven head coach, that's not a friend. Get you some mean, angry to be alive players that want to be remembered for their play, and ban the screen. There we go. Just watch the Jets miss a field goal with more empty seats in the background than a Harris rally. Beating the Niners today would be an accomplishment. McDaniel is yet to beat a colleague out of his coaching tree. McDaniel needs this game for his confidence. That's actually not true. He won the follow-up game against Staley because Brandon Staley was one of his guys, and he beat him, and then he beat him the following. It took McDaniel a whole year to adjust to Brandon Staley, but he adjusted to him a year later. He was ready for it. You give McDaniel a year to prepare for you, and look out, baby. Hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we play our 17-game schedule over 17 years? McDaniel only has one opponent to prepare for every year. We just figured that out, huh? In that Chargers game, he had a whole year to prepare for Brandon Staley, and he completely embarrassed the guy that day. He was fantastic, but he had a year. That's the trick. So we get year bye weeks. We play a week, and then we're off for a year, and then we come back. So our seasons will last you an entire schooling. The first week is kindergarten. Your senior year is the last game of the season. So by the time you're in college, you'll have a shot at the Super Bowl, but a chance to win. So we'll be ready, if it takes McDaniel 25 years to prepare for the Super Bowl. Hey, man, that's not bad. That's not bad. Well, not 25. Let's see. 17 playoffs. Well, no, I expect with the year off, we do get the bye week, right? So, wait a minute. Does a bye week become a bye year? So we get 2 years off? Okay, so that's 19. So we're looking somewhere around 21 by there. We get to the Super Bowl. But think about it. We haven't even been close in 40. So if I give you a game plan that it's 21 years and guaranteed we win a Super Bowl by playing one game a year, who's not taking that? Huh? Who's not taking that? It's a beautiful thing. We would have already won a Super Bowl. That's like me thinking about all this home insurance I've paid over the years, and I could have owned like several Bitcoin by now. Would have been so rich, it's not even funny. Tell you. Anyway. Let's see. I know this Dolphins pregame show, but can we please acknowledge the passing of the greatest leadoff hitter and stolen base? Yes. Ricky Henderson did pass away yesterday. And, he was the best. He is the GOAT. I put it yesterday when I put RIP. I put a GOAT right next to it because he is the GOAT. There'll never be another Ricky Henderson again. And, yes, there's no doubt, my brother, rest in peace. That was I'm blessed to have been able to watch his entire career, because, wow, talk about character, Talk about the color he brought to the game, not his skin, you idiots. That guy was electrifying, bro. Electrifying. Leadoff hitter on the bases. Just everything about him was electrifying. Period. He was the leadoff hitter that you had to watch take the plate. And that's normally for sluggers are like that, not Ricky Henderson. No. You wanted to watch his bat, and then you wanted to see what he did on the base paths, because he was going to drive everybody crazy. And he was going to create chaos. Yeah, there's very few players in the history of the game like Ricky Henderson. And I am one of the luckiest men when it comes to sports that I was able to live and watch his entire amazing career. So yes, definitely. Sai says I could give a shit about the playoff chances. But the Titans just made it an 8-point game. Yes, it is 38-30, 2 minutes left. But the Colts have the ball now. So we'll see what happens. Jets muffed the ball. What's the Jets game? Let me pull it up here. What do we have? The Jets game end or something? Oh, it did. They lost 19-9 to the Rams. Okay. That's awesome. Awesome. Aaron Rodgers losing is so beautiful. So beautiful. I hope the Dolphins can beat him one more time. Creekaholic says, don't see anything wrong with holding on to a little hope with standing. It's very unlikely. 9 months between seasons. What's the hope for what, dude? What hope? That's the funny part. What hope? Like, what are you going to do in the playoffs? What is this sorry-ass team with this sorry-ass coach going to do in the playoffs? There's no hope, dude. Give me a break. That you back in like many Dolphin teams have, only to do what? To get embarrassed in the playoffs. There's no hope, dude. Please. That's the part that I have a problem with. Fans that literally lie to themselves. There is no hope. None. This is not a championship team that had a string of bad luck and they were unhealthy most of the season, and now they're starting to get healthy and they can get their groove back. And you know it, man, they've done it before. They get on it, they'll take on a tear. That's not who we're talking about. We're talking about the Dolphins. The team that never does anything. The team that gets pushed around all the time. Come on, dude. What hope? Hope for what? Hope to get embarrassed again? Come on, man. Yeah. Anyway. Todd agrees Ricky Henderson was definitely a GOAT, 100%. What else? True Fin Fan says Ricky Henderson is the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. I met him at Sluggers years ago, and he was actually very nice to me. His forearms were like tree trunks. Yeah. Yep. Stephen Baker, 1 game a year only if it's against the 70s Bills. I love it. Beat Joe Ferguson and the boys. What else? Jerry Butler was Joe Cribbs. Joe Cribbs was a good player, man. Joe Ferguson wasn't a bad quarterback in those days. But yeah, Miami owned them in those days. Stephen Harris, the playoffs. You kidding me? The playoffs? Humble goes, another hopium junkie. If they did win out and make the playoffs, they would be on fire going into the playoffs, says the Drew. Tyreek Hill this week proved once again that he is not a leader and certainly not somebody that understands what it's like to lead. And this week with the whole stupid stuff about, tweeting out, it's time for me to coach. And then he had his lame ass explanation out there. Oh, well, I didn't mean that, man. Come on, guys. I got a great life here and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you do actually, because these guys gave you a lot of money and they probably shouldn't have given you more money, but whatever. And then he talks about, no, I want to coach. I see Michael Vick and I see Teddy Bridgewater and all that. And dude, you don't have an ounce of leadership in you. You're not a leader in the community. You're driving 60 miles an hour during a game. You're constantly in trouble with the law, one way or the other. You are constantly making mistakes on the field with your teammates. Constantly running the wrong routes. Constantly dropping footballs. And you say and you do stupid shit, and your entourage does stupid shit, and stupid shit happens in your house. You know, all Tyreek did this week was add another chapter to just an absolutely disastrous run here in Miami, because it really has only been about stats, not about substance. The stats have not led to anything of substance to win. You haven't won a goddamn thing that means anything with those stats. And yet, you've also had to carry all the baggage. And in a week where you need leadership, this is what you have from your leader. I be needing grammar. I be needing punctuation. I be needing, whatever. I don't think about this. Yeah, exactly. That's your problem, dude. You don't think. Because maybe you're not capable of doing it. Because, somebody that was capable of doing it would think twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 4, and not press send and not send a stupid tweet like that to ignite a fan base that's been pissed and brewing like a volcano for 40 years. But since you have no awareness, and since you don't really give a shit about all the stuff that you've done, and you continue to pile on, and you make it harder for the people that paid you in the front office, for the quarterback, or for anybody else that plays with you, you make it harder on them to ever justify who you are. Because the justification of saying, oh, that's Tyreek being Tyreek is not enough. Oh, Tyreek's a jokester. Oh, Tyreek's a troll. Not enough. It's not enough, dude. But I get it. Some of you out there are short-sighted, and you only look at the stats, and you don't really care about everything else. But there's a reason why everything else doesn't lead to winning. Because his stats are empty. The moments that count, he comes up empty. And that's a huge problem for this team. And the bigger problem is that you guaranteed him money into the future when you had a window out. Now, there's a whole bunch of you that wanted to pay him. So most of the time, I don't listen to any complaints of Tyreek from most of you, because most of you that were complaining, you wanted him here and you wanted to pay him. Kind of like the whole Jimmy Butler thing. Most of you wanted to pay him. And so it kind of falls on deaf ears for me on this show, because I kind of found myself pretty much on an island by myself almost on not wanting to pay Tyreek. Okay? So that it kind of falls on deaf ears. But none of you are paid to do this. They are. And that's where they screwed up. Okay? In the end, even though a whole bunch of you are screw-ups too, because you all would have paid Tyreek. But, you can run and hide. Nobody's following what you guys are saying. Nobody tracks what you guys say. I'm not tracking, so I can't hold it against you. But I know most of you wanted Tyreek back. But see, the problem is you guys don't run the team. They do. And they should know better. And that's where they screwed up. And as much as I like the front office, I have to admit that was a major screw up on their point. You could have you might have gotten a better season out of Tyreek knowing that he wasn't going to get paid after this. keeping that carrot dangling. But if you're more worried about how he's going to be a petulant child because he doesn't get the money, that's why you shouldn't have paid him. So if you're worried, oh, wait, if we don't give him the money, he's going to act up. Well, then that's the reason not to give him the money, because he's really not a professional. Javon Holland didn't get the money. He hasn't acted like an asshole. I mean, he has every reason. Now, he hasn't played well, so that's kind of hurt him, but he never complained or anything like that. So if you were worried in Miami, I'm not sure if that's what happened in the building. They were worried about Tyreek acting up because he didn't have any more guaranteed money. Well, my brother, that's probably what you should have done. Should have kept that carrot dangling in front of him. So Tyreek has not proven to be a professional in any way, shape, or form. He just catches passes, but he's really not a professional. He doesn't handle his business like a professional on the field or off the field. And that alone should have had him done here at the end of this season. You would only have 3 more games you would have to tolerate, and then you can move on. Now you're stuck like Chuck, and not only are you stuck with him again next year, you will then take a cap hit the year after that. Bad move with Tyreek. By the way, David Ferronis, Welt and Rayom. Yes, sir. Jeff Welt, Daniel Rayom. He will join us in the post-game show. David Ferronis, fresh from the locker rooms. And if you need lawyers you can trust, and the way the Florida law system is set up now, it favors the insurance companies. So the most important thing you do is hire the right lawyers. Welt and Rayom, they're the right lawyers. 954-966-4646, personal injury, commercial litigation, business owner claims, condo damage, criminal defense, homeowner property damage, bankruptcy. Call Jeff Welt or Daniel Rayom. The consultation's completely free. 954-966-4646, or check it out on the website wrflalaw.com. Chris Perkins will also join us in the post-game show, fresh from the locker room too. So we'll get the latest from him. Cy Love All, thank you, sir, for the love on the super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Says, here's a donation for having to cover this shit. LOL. It's 40 years of covering it, brother. And I'm sure it comes through in the last few weeks. I am pissed. I'm frustrated. I am out of patience. I'm done with it. You know what I mean? So, I'm done with this season. I'm done with this team. I'm moving on to next year, and I can't wait to move on to next year. I am tired of this shit. So I appreciate it, Cy. And all of you are tired of this shit because it's the same shit every year. It's just the faces and the names change from top to bottom, but the results are all the same. And it doesn't matter if it's Robbie and Shula or if it's now Ross and McDaniel. Doesn't matter, dude. Does not matter. I've been going through this shit for 40 years. The incompetence is where it's always been. Consistently incompetent. Let's see what else. Beer Noob looks like Eichenberg is getting benched for Isaiah Wynn. We'll see. I mean, but Isaiah Wynn doesn't stay healthy either. You know what I'm saying? So none of this means anything. Go get a fat ass in the draft, dude. Go get a fat ass in the draft. Go get me a defensive tackle. Go get me a guard. Go get me a middle linebacker. You need that badly. So, Badger, have you been listening to the show? Have you been listening to the show for the last couple of weeks? I mean, I think I've answered those questions over and over and over and over again, bro. Let's see what else. And you're asking Omar, like, that's an old subject, dude. If you don't listen to the show, then just say first, hey, I never listened, so I don't know, because all these things have been addressed over and over and over again, bro. So if you don't listen and you don't follow, I'm sorry, dude, but I don't repeat. So, anyways, besides Sealer, who else has performed to their latest extension? Not Waddle, not Tua, not Tyreek. Nobody, not even Ramsey. Nobody. Sealer's the only guy that's, Austin Jackson. I know he got injured, but Austin Jackson is well worth the money. The run game went to shit after he went down. So Sealer and Austin Jackson are the guys that have lived up to their extra money. Okay? Those guys, and that was the hope for Eichenberg, that, hey, they figured out Austin Jackson. They like Eichenberg. They'll figure him out, and they just couldn't get consistency out of him either. And I thought for sure Eichenberg would turn the corner this year, because they did it with Austin Jackson. I figured, okay, maybe they see something we don't. Barry's done an excellent job with these guys, and he couldn't get the consistency out of Eichenberg ever, unfortunately. So it is what it is. Jason Patrick, thanks for hanging in there. Your commentary keeps a lot of us sane through the BS. I appreciate it. All good. Real One Company is in the house. Thank you all out there as always. I appreciate you. What else do we have here that I wanted to talk about? I think I've got it, kind of given you pretty much everything. Looks like it. Pat says Eichenberg has always been truly awful. Yeah, it's just he's on the floor all the time, dude. Like constantly on the floor. It's the weirdest thing, dude. It's just odd how he's always on the floor, and there are moments. He has moments where he makes a couple of decent blocks, but the consistency, he can never ever find it. It's just, and he was always a tackle, and then they moved him inside and all that, and who knows, man? Who knows if you get Eichenberg from the beginning, fresh out of college, and you get him with a good line coach and everything, does he become a good player right from that moment? Or all the moving around and all the different changes and everything, while Austin was able to survive and overcome, maybe this kid just lost his mojo. You know what I mean? Because he was a damn good lineman in Notre Dame. So it wasn't like he came from a bad school. It wasn't like he was a flukish player or anything. No, he was a freaking good player at Notre Dame. And then and Notre Dame's produced linemen like crazy throughout the years. So there's a pedigree, all of that. And man, it's crazy, right? So Austin worked out and he didn't. It's interesting because they drafted Austin, they drafted Eichenberg, they drafted Hunt. They hit on Hunt. They couldn't pay him because it was just too much money. They hit on Jackson, but they missed on Eichenberg. So 2 out of the 3 is actually pretty damn good. You know what I'm saying? For us to expect to hit on all 3, it's actually unrealistic, considering our past when they never hit on linemen. You know what I'm saying? So the Connor Williams move was good. He was good while you had him. He got injured. You got him out. You got Aaron Brewer. He became a good player for you. And maybe Patrick Paul turns into a good player. It's the perception is really different than the reality of the offensive line. Okay? They are doing better overall. Is it what they need? Not yet, no. And that's because they got to solve the guards. And they got to stay healthy. Now you got to get Patrick Paul out there on a permanent basis. You get Austin Jackson back. That'll be all next year. You got your center already. So now you got to go out and get a big nasty guard somewhere. And then you have a service. You're not going to draft 2 nasty guards. You're not going to buy 2 nasty guards. You're either going to draft 1 nasty guard or buy a nasty guard. One of the 2. And I would go with the first. I would go with drafting a nasty guard. That's probably what's going to happen. But you got to do that. Somehow or another, that's how you've got to fix that. You know what I'm saying? But it's not as bad as people make it out to be. You know? And Keon comes back. He was developing. He might be a decent backup for you. And then if you get Kendall Lamb, you're pretty good. You got your 4 there at tackle. You might be all right in those areas. So things might change a little bit down the line, depending who's here and all that kind of stuff, obviously. Let's see. Eichenberg is always always looks physically outmatched. Yes. Carlito says Eichenberg is always getting punked by the others. Yes. And yes. Yeah. Forget the playoffs. Can we at least just have an entertaining performance instead of 3 screen passes and out? Yeah, I'm ready for another disappointing Sunday from the Dolphins, but maybe they'll surprise, is what Zachary says. It would be nice, brother. I got Niners 23, Dolphins 16. Okay? I think the Niners win this game, unfortunately. I don't have the Niners. I don't have the Dolphins winning this game. I got the Niners pulling it off because they are the more physical bunch, unfortunately. All right. St. Michael says drafting a nasty offensive guard is not going to happen under Greer. Give me a break. Well, they had one. His name is Rob Hunt. Didn't he draft him? Again, perception is different than reality. He drafted Hunt, Eichenberg, and Jackson. Hit on 2 of the 3. That's reality. Found himself a very cheap setter in Connor Williams for a couple years. Now got an even cheaper setter in Aaron Brewer for a couple of years. And drafted Patrick Paul at left tackle, which kind of looks pretty good. Perception and reality are 2 different things. Is the coaching what you need? No. It might make the offensive line look a little better if you had better coaching. That'll be on Greer. But again, perception and reality are a little different. Okay? So it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. It's actually better than it's been all in the past 10, 15 years, 20 years. That they've been more consistent now at finding linemen than they ever were. That's the screwed up part. As screwed up as you might think it is right now, it's way better than it's been the last 15, 20 years. I'm just saying. Is that off? Is it off? I don't know. I don't remember a ton of guys being found back in the day outside of Pouncey, maybe. It's not, they would have to go buy them. They actually drafted Austin Jackson. Now here's Patrick Paul. You know what I mean? That's pretty good. They drafted Rob Hunt. He turned into a hell of a player. The salary was just ridiculous. What are you going to do? You don't pay it. You had to let him go. Just like Christian, you can't have it both ways. You can't pick on the front office for not paying Hunt and Wilkins when it's not worth paying him that kind of money. But you do have to credit them for fighting the players. Sorry, but fiscally, it was responsible to not pay those guys because it was overpaying those guys. Are they very good players? Yes. But neither one was worth the money. And especially Wilkins, because he's not a pass rusher. And look, he ends up getting injured, which a lot of you that complain about not paying Wilkins still to this day, you would have killed them if they would have paid Wilkins and then he gets injured. Oh, my God. So it's crazy. Jake Long. Yeah, and Jake Long was good for only a couple of years. And then, the late Tony Sperano screwed him up by playing him late in that preseason game. Once he got that knee injury, he was never the same again. What a shame. That was it. But that was the number 1 pick in the draft, dude. Like, seriously. Like, if you're not good at the number 1 pick in the draft, that's like a no-brainer. Big O, I'm still having nightmares from the Rick Spielman days. Greer should have gotten ahead of the Hunt contract and paid him earlier. Please, dude. It's one of those where he also had kind of his ups and downs too at times, so that's all hindsight 2020 bullshit. And you only have 4 years. It's hard to kind of redo that stuff so quickly like that when you don't have that 5th year to see the guy. That is a horse shit criticism of the year before. That's bullshit. Bottom line is he wasn't worth that money. And so you move on. But he gets the credit for the pick. Okay? You can't take the credit away from the guy. And again, you go look at their finding and how they're doing the offensive line. It's not enough right now, but that's more about coaching, I think. It's way better than it used to be. Way better than it used to be. Okay? And if Patrick Paul turns out to be the guy, it wasn't the number 1 pick that you ended up getting the tackle with. And if Austin Jackson, which has turned out to be the guy, wasn't the number 1 pick, he was like 18th or something. So you're finding those tackles without having to use the number 1 pick. That's, again, give the man credit, but I get it. Right now, there's no way you could give anybody credit because the results are not enough. All right, we're out of here. We'll see you guys for the post-game show. Chris Perkins and David Furones will join us. We thank the great Sean Stanley. We'll see you for the post-game show. Let's hope that at least it's a happy one, because if not, I'm going to be mighty pissed off. Have a good one.
You've been listening to our Dolphins pregame show with Big O. The broadcast is brought to you by Welton Rayome, Acura of Pembroke Pines, Hialeah Park Casino, RM Contractors, Toyota of Hollywood, Caneswear, Sloman's Home Security, BigCheeseMiami.com, EJD Construction. The broadcast is mastered by executive producer Sean Stanley. Thank you for supporting the platform and our fantastic sponsors. Go Fins!